It is late at night after I just saw Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice for the first time, and I want to give my initial reactions. This will be a non spoiler review. I'm still processing everything, so I'll give a fuller breakdown with my friend Jason Book this weekend. But I want to just put some initial ideas down there for people who are thinking about seeing the movie this weekend or who are just gathering some thoughts as they go into the movie. There's a lot to digest in this movie, so it is the kind of thing where I want to go see it again. But here are my initial thoughts. First of all, I really liked the movie. I didn't come out of it thinking that it was a masterpiece, but I really enjoyed it. I got a lot out of it. I want to analyze it some more, and I like having a movie that can be analyzed and that you can debate and talk about for a lot afterward, and that definitely gave this to me. I definitely also had a lot of feelings. If you want to feel things from a movie, that definitely happened for me in this one. Moments of real exhilaration and adrenaline and excitement, for sure. There were some moments of sadness that really kind of did have me choked up, have me connected with the characters. There were moments of laughter. I laughed out loud. The audience that I was with laughed out loud several times, probably like 4 or 5 times. But that is not to say that this is a funny movie. If you're going in expecting a fun, frolicking good time, you're going to be disappointed because this is more of a drama. This is more of like a deep drama with these characters that then builds toward action in especially Act 3. It's really not an overly done action movie. It's not just action, action, action all throughout. Really, they pick their spots for the action, and it builds to a climax that's infused with action at the end. Probably the strongest part, I think, was the character arcs. The three main characters of Superman, Batman, and Lex all had clear issues that they were grappling with, and they clearly went through, a story for their character. And I thought it was great how they all kind of came together in the same sort of climax at the end. So I don't want to give too much away, but that's what I'll say there. It's really fun following those character arcs, thinking about them, and I need to kind of think about them more. If I thought of this movie as a comic book, I would say that the art and the layouts of this comic book were really strong. Lots of good, compelling visuals, some really strong scenes where they took a kind of artistic, poetic approach to some scenes, and some of them you just kind of sit back and be like, wow, that's just an amazing visual thing that they've put together. And the music also was really strong. I thought the music fit really well with everything that this movie was trying to do. Also, if people are thinking about the marketing, giving things away, there were several surprises that I had that were not given away in the marketing, were not spoiled ahead of time. And I was following this pretty closely for 2 years. I've been following all of this, and there were 2 or 3 pretty key things that I did not know to expect. I didn't see them coming. So I thought it was nice to have those surprises together with having some expectations of what to go in. So yeah, I do see, so even though I liked a lot of this, I'm going to enjoy analyzing it more. I can recognize that maybe not everyone will love this movie. I could recognize people that want to have more escapism, turn their mind off, watch something fun or funny, are not really going to enjoy this movie, because this movie does kind of demand that you pay attention, and it demands that you think deeply about the characters and that you read between the lines, and you have to kind of infer what the character is going through. And then that can bring meaning to kind of what's happening. They don't lay it all out for you. So maybe not everybody enjoys a movie that way. So in that case, I could see sort of some negativity for this. For me, I love that kind of movie, and for me, I really liked this one. I could see maybe some criticisms of Act 1, because the structure of Act 1 is different than your typical blockbuster. There's kind of just cutting from disparate scenes that later you realize are connected, and that it all is actually weaving together into the sort of same plot. But when you're in Act 1, it does kind of seem like, where's the momentum? It seems like it's jumping around a bit. But looking in hindsight, I think it does make sense, and I think if I go to see it again, I'll get a lot more out of Act 1 and see why they were doing all those things. Now, like I said, I like to analyze movies, and there's a lot to work with here. First of all, it gave me one of the biggest things that I wanted from this movie, which was a thematic continuation of Man of Steel. So clearly the events pick up on Man of Steel, but by the themes I mean, in Man of Steel we really have this story of Clark having to make the choice between humanity and Krypton, and he ultimately chooses humanity and takes that leap of faith with humanity. This one now is the question of, will humanity accept Superman? And that's what I was hoping it would be. I was hoping that it would be this question of, does the public get behind Superman? Does the public trust Superman? And do these humans in the person of Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne can they accept Superman, because Superman is kind of a threat to their alpha status. And that's exactly what this movie explored. They explored whether mankind, in terms of its government, in terms of its population and the sort of mob mentality, and in terms of its greatest kind of individuals, in terms of like Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne, both being rich, successful, smart, powerful people, can they come to terms with Superman? So now it's this question of, can humanity accept Superman? And I thought that was the right thematic move to continue forward, and I need to see it again to even get more nuance out of that theme. I also liked the three main characters. I thought this was a great Batman. I thought that Superman continued his journey from Man of Steel well, and I thought I really liked Lex. Now, I could see some people, maybe Lex is, the interpretation of Lex rubs them the wrong way, but I think him being irritating and being kind of snively and stuff is kind of the point, and I really enjoyed this take on Lex. I think there's a lot of depth to it, a lot of nuance, a lot of facial tics and mannerisms, and I enjoyed that. But I also like the theme of the three characters. My first sense of it is that Superman is kind of the philosophical character. It's these philosophical questions of how do you hold power responsibly, and how do you deal with people always second guessing your power. Like, if you can save people, people are always going to say, well, why didn't you do more? Or when you did something, what about these repercussions that you didn't intend? And so there are these big philosophical questions that are represented in Superman. I think Batman is a psychological character. I think he has a lot of psychological issues that he's dealing with in sort of counterproductive ways. And I think that his motivations for taking down Superman are actually a rationalization to cover what he's kind of really dealing with psychologically, his feeling of powerlessness, and that his life and what he's been trying to do as Batman are not really worth much, or that they're totally trumped by Superman's arrival, or that he's basically not sure that he's achieved what he wanted with his life. So I think he's dealing with psychological issues. And then Lex Luthor, I think, is maniacal, basically. He's the maniacal character. So we've got philosophy, psychology, and mania. And I think there's also some nice parallels between Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor. I think they're actually more similar, even though on the surface they're very different characters. I think deep down they're dealing with some of the same issues, but dealing with them in different ways. So I need to dig into that more, see it again. But if you like analyzing movies, if you like analyzing themes, character arcs, I think you're going to enjoy this movie. It also just has some great scenes. There's a scene with Batman that is amazing. I think it's probably the best Batman scene that we've had in a movie. The climax just had me really drawn in, edge of my seat. I loved it. I thought it all came together well. And probably the best thing about this movie is, as soon as it was finished, I just wanted to watch it again. Like, I almost wanted them to just start it back from the beginning and let me go kind of follow these things again. The other really good thing about this is, as soon as it was done, I really wanted to see Justice League. I could not wait to see these characters and where they're going to go next. I thought the way that they brought in the Justice League characters was great, especially Wonder Woman. I thought she was a really standout part of this movie. I loved the scenes with Diana. I thought the way they brought her in was great, just the right amount of Wonder Woman. And then at the end when she comes in, I thought that was just exhilarating and great to see her. And she definitely has a background that I want to see more of. It was cool how they alluded to it, and just seeing her come into the action, you could tell that where she was coming from was interesting, so I want to see more of that. And overall, I just really like how they handled the Justice League, how they brought them into the mix. At one point when we were seeing Justice League members, I think maybe it wasn't the right spot to put that in, but the way that they put it in I thought was really smart, and it served the future without taking away from this current story, and it really actually made sense in what was going on. So I liked that, and it's just, to me, a good sign that I'm so excited to see Justice League. So in terms of this movie, building a world and setting things up to be explored in the future, mission accomplished there. And it also, in terms of giving me something to analyze, something to debate, talk with other people about, mission accomplished as well. Even though I'm feeling pretty positive about it, I wouldn't call it a masterpiece. I do think there are some spots that could be improved. Some decisions that like Lois made, or some actions that Lois took that I'm not sure made sense. I'll have to think more about them. And with Act 1, I think maybe Act 1 could have accomplished what it needed to, but in a different way that maybe had a little bit more of a flow to it. But in looking at it again, Act 1 might make more sense the second time around. I could see where, I think the biggest thing would be if somebody doesn't want a lot of drama and deep themes and philosophical exploration with their superhero movies, they might be disappointed in this one. And for that person, there are a lot of other options. But for people like me who like the philosophy, like analyzing the themes, and like discussing this stuff, this one gives me a lot to work with, and I really appreciate it.